our beautiful and wonderful graduate community. I'm here with Rev Dr. Courtney Bryant, and we're offering a new series this year in our graduate newsletter to cultivate an interspiritual practice for those already being of service out in the world and to themselves, how to cultivate specifically the 9 elements of interspirituality from Wayne Teasdale. So thank you, Rev Dr. Courtney, for joining us and guiding us through what element is resonating the most profoundly with you in this moment that you feel called to cultivate, not only for yourself, for our community, for one spirit as a whole.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for this opportunity to explore this question. You know, when I went on vacation back in August of 2025, I had this really beautiful time of refreshment. And during that time, there was a particular Bible verse that came up. And the Bible verse that came up essentially said, unless God, Spirit, Source, builds a house, the laborers toil in vain. And I thought that was really important because I know that we as ministers can get all involved in really spiritual things, right? But we can often neglect that time of connection with the sacred, with the divine. And I think it's incredibly important for us, as Wayne Teasdale says, to develop a commit to a spiritual practice. We talked a lot about this in last year's seminary cohort. We called it spiritual hygiene. And essentially, what it means is unless you are taking that time out in whatever way that you see fit to cultivate a kind of intimacy with the sacred, with the divine, such that you can be replenished and so you can be clear on what your mandates are as you go out, your ministry can suffer. And so, what we want to do, or what I especially feel called to, is helping the community develop that commitment, particularly to the practice of prayer, which has been really helpful for me. We know that prayer can be incredibly difficult for a number of reasons. We've got the distractions of life, we've got a lack of focus because we've got 15 billion other things going on. But it is incredibly important that we fill our own cup first. As ministers, we're constantly pouring out on other people. So here are some practices that I have used that have been helpful for me over the years in getting back to that place of intimacy with the divine. The first is before I do anything, I either pray as soon as I get out of the bed or I hop in the shower and I pray. And this tends to invigorate me because it allows me to feel the hot water on my body. And it's so funny because one of the things I'm like, oh, thank you, God, for hot water. It's like one of the things that always comes out. But the invigoration of the shower is doubly invigorated by what's happening in what I would call the spirit during prayer. The other thing for me was during grad school, I had a really hard time with focus. I had a hard time with just using prayer as a tool because it felt so old in light of all of the things that I was learning. And so one of my mentors, the late, great Katie Cannon, gave me a coloring book called Coloring Your Prayers. And this completely changed the game. For those of you who are having difficulty, the words just won't come to your mouth anymore. This is oftentimes why Buddhists chant because it makes it easier. But one of the things you can do is you can take just a piece of paper and just draw your prayers out instead of speaking them. And what happens is when you do this, you see it, and then you're inspired sometimes with language so it can help you get unstuck. The third thing that I'll say is that a committed prayer life requires intentionality. You have to book it out. You need to put it on your calendar. You need to say, okay, from 8 to 8:30, I am going to spend time with Source and not put so much pressure on it. You don't have to do anything. Maybe you'll sing a song, maybe you'll sit still, but whatever it is, it'll give you that opportunity to connect with the spirit as opposed to just be talking about spiritual things all day, right? Somebody said once, you've got people who can read a book about Chicago, and then you've got the people who've been to Chicago. And there's a big difference, right? Prayer, I think, spans that difference. I wanted to give you two more, but I feel like three is sufficient. Yeah. I want a better ending to this,
Yeah,
but yeah.
yeah, absolutely. I think that this is something that we all have a struggle with in such a busy and ungrounded experience of the world. Speaking from my experience,
Mm,
how to consistently come back. And these are great strategies, building it into your routine, blocking out time with intentionality, trying it in new and different ways that resonate more deeply. I love that. And also, when we are at our furthest from spirit, do you
mhm,
have a suggestion, a tool, or a practice to help us get back to
mhm.
having that spiritual practice be a part of our day again?
I have three. I have three. The first is that I am very big on song. I think that song has a way of calibrating. It can, right? It can help us with our vibration such that we can become attuned to the sacred. So, first, I'd say music. If you're having a hard time, get some music going. And here's the thing, it doesn't have to be sappy music, it doesn't have to be slow music. It can be the kind of music that really gets you going. Right? Doesn't have to look a particular way. Second, I would say get out into nature because there is no way that you can take a walk through a forest or look at a streaming river or look at mountains and not remember the sacred. So I would say get out into nature. And then finally, one of the other things that I used to do is I used to meet God on the treadmill. And this was great because I was moving, so I was getting those endorphins, but I was also able to get that music going. So I would run to gospel music. So, and now I'm running, I'm talking, and I'm telling you, when I would be done, the um, the treadmill would be glowing. So that's what I would say: nature, movement, and music.
Beautiful, beautiful. The last question for our graduate community, sharing an intimate part of yourself,
Mm,
what has been transformative
mm,
about dedicating yourself to a spiritual practice,
mhm,
internally and externally? How
mm.
has it helped bridge the gap of difference?
Mm. So being faithful to a practice of prayer has been tremendous for me as an individual because it gives me a form of accountability as well as a form of support. So often, particularly as leaders, we can believe that if we don't show up, it won't get done, right? But this allows me to remember my humility, right? That again, unless God builds a house, the laborers toil in vain. And so it reminds me that, yes, I may be holding a lot of things, but I am also held in divine love and divine power and divine purpose. And that keeps me going. Um, how has it? And so, and again, that accountability keeps you humble. And that is important for the bridging of difference, right? Because if you are grounded in a sense of, I don't know everything, right? I am a learner who comes curious and let love be your only debt. Yes, I may not agree with this person, but they are still deserving of dignity and love and respect. Right. And so I think that prayer creates that kind of posture of humility that makes that bridge building possible.
Absolutely. I'm hearing you say that prayer in and of itself is a posture of curiosity. And when we're asking, we're inviting in and we're being
Yes,
invited in.
I love those words.
So
Yes, yes,
thank you for inviting us in to your
absolutely.
practice, to your heart, and to your interspiritual being.
Oh, yes, it feels good to share. Thank you for listening.
Wonderful.